DeAndre Hopkins, a guy who was not traded because, and this report came out, I think over the weekend, late last week. I think it was Albert Breer. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry to whoever reported it. But the big impediment was nobody wanted to take on DeAndre Hopkins' salary,
Right.
$19 million and change. Doesn't seem like all that much, but you got injury issues. You got the PED suspension from last year. And even though he denies that he did anything on purpose, it doesn't make it go away. It still happened. So he's still in Arizona. He showed up. He's on the books. I still think there's a chance they just flat out release him, Chris. I don't think we can rule that out.
Wow.
But here's a little sound. We'll talk maybe more about that coming up. Here's a little sound from Lamar Jackson a couple weeks ago about DeAndre Hopkins possibly joining the Ravens. And here's DeAndre Hopkins responding to that yesterday at Cardinals OTAs.
I text Coach Harris. I'm like, is it possible for us to land D-Hop and Odell Beckham? He was like, Lamar, we can't make that happen. We can't get both of them. We have Rashard Bateman. I'm like, I'm not taking anywhere away from Bateman. Like, I love Bateman. Like, he a guy, he a number one receiver. But I'm like, we can just be loaded. That's how I'm looking at it, like a man type thing.
Man, you're trying to build your franchise.
I
like Lamar the GM. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm thinking like man in terms like, man, we can do anything. I just want to win a Super Bowl.
I love Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's one of my favorite athletes, and since I've been watching sports, I'm a sports fan. So I was watching Lamar when he played Clemson, my alumni, and I was like, who is this kid? So I've been a fan of Lamar for a long time. So obviously he's one of the greats, and I would be lying to sit here and say, it wouldn't be an honor one day, if my career allows me to play that long, to play with a great guy and a great quarterback like Lamar, or
So that wasn't obviously from OTAs yesterday. I thought it was comments that DeAndre Hopkins made to the media, but Hopkins interested in playing with Lamar. It's a dramatic turn. And we went through this phase of DeAndre Hopkins talking about other teams he'd like to play for. Remember, he did that thing where he did it with nonverbal gestures, and it was clear he was interested in the Bills and the Chiefs. And then all of a sudden it's like, what, I'm here in Arizona. I never said I wanted to leave. I mean, it's pretty clear he wants to go somewhere else. The problem is there's only one team right now that is in position to pay him $19 million and change, assuming they ultimately do. They could still cut him between now and week 1 and not owe him anything. We'll see how that plays out. I think it comes to a head before then, frankly, but that's kind of where they are. Cardinals would like to move on. No one wants to trade for his contract. He's not ready to give up any of the money he's due to make, so kind of a standoff right
Would you just move on, from a guy like DeAndre Hopkins? You've paid him a good chunk of money, the last few years, right? Would you just move on if there was, just like, okay, we don't have an offer, but hey, well, wait, if he's on the field, he's still our best receiver? That's where, and wait, I'm a new head coach, and I'd like things to start. I'd like to win a few games here the first year and all that. That's where, I don't know if they'll move on. I'm just asking you as a friend here, was there spitballing? Would you do it, if it came to that point?
Well, if I had no trade opportunity whatsoever, that's $19.45 million in cash and cap space that I can bank, that I can save for whenever we start to emerge from this funk that has now descended upon the Arizona Cardinals. How much of a difference is he going to make this year? Is it worth that $19.45 million? And you have to look at it from the perspective of Michael Bidwell. I mean, this is a team that has
it's a money
reputation
thing
of being extremely careful with money. $19.45 million saved is $19.45 million earned. So I think they had gotten themselves to the point where they had wrapped their brains around the fact they were going to trade him.
Right. And then it didn't happen.
Oops.
Right. I get the same feeling.
He's not traded.
Yeah, right. I get the
and
same
now they're in a box.
Right.
Now they're in a box.
Right.
What are they going to do?
Exactly.
What are they going to do? It's kind of like the same thing the Vikings have going on with Dalvin Cook. It reminds me of that, where no one's going to take on the contract as it's written. The player's not going to take less. It's your move. It's checkmate for the teams, unless you want to pay the guy a salary that you just don't want to pay him.
Yeah, well, and you said you laid it out right about all the issues of why teams are reluctant to trade, let alone one thing that I know we discussed a few weeks ago that I think would be a real thing, or at least on somebody's radar if you traded for him, is, okay, wait, we trade for him, we give up a few assets, sure, We're paying him money. He's having a good year, and here we are in week 13, and, man, they want a new contract, right? That's the other thing that we all expect coming, especially with $19 million. That's low for receivers right now. But also within that, he's also in an age in his career and the things that you talked about with injuries, the PEDs, whatever else, where you start to go, wait, it's year 10. I don't know if we want to be stuck in that type of situation with a guy that far down the road there. So that's where I don't know if there's going to be much market unless Arizona decides to change some things and they're going to pay part of the contract or something of that nature. I don't think there's going to be a market other than that. And back to our original part or the start of this little conversation, if I'm Arizona and I don't get any, real tangible trade offers that make sense right now, I'm keeping them. Definitely. If I'm Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort, I do want to win a few games. Damn, the year's gotten off to a bad start for Arizona, and we haven't even started the damn year. I mean, it ain't looking good. So let's win some games. And what are we going to do? We're going to, if you don't get a trade, you're going to rely on Marquise Hollywood Brown, who's hurt a lot. You're gonna rely on I'm blanking on their other receiver that they drafted from Purdue. Gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Rondale Moore, excuse me. He's a smaller guy who's been injured a bunch, right? So I'm looking at that group there. They drafted a guy who has an injury history at Stanford, and I'm going, well, wait, we're like a quarter away from having just kind of Jack Diddley crap at wide receiver here. Are we sure we just want to trade him away just to trade him away, right? Hold on to him if you don't get anything. Maybe you get to week 5 or 6 and Kansas City's got an injury. And, oh, no, now Kansas City they thought they were going to the Super Bowl, and now somebody's hurt. Somebody like that. Oh, wait. Oh, now you might be able to get what you want from DeAndre Hopkins because you get a team that's desperate. So that's where I would tell Arizona not to just release him.
That would be a reasonable position for
hanging
GM
on.
or the head coach.
Yeah.
But the owner.
Yeah, the owner's a different story. I know. You're right.
It feels like a throw in the towel season. They had one 5 years ago, 2018, the year that they hired Steve Wilkes to preside over a disaster. They bottomed out. They fire him. They hire Cliff Kingsbury, and they win the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and they bring in Kyler Murray, and they tried it again. And I feel like they're in this transition now. They're in this gulf where they're willing to just say, this is a reset year. This is a Caleb Williams year. Wouldn't it be something if they get the number 1 overall pick in the draft, they hire Cliff Kingsbury back since he's at USC working with Caleb Williams? That part is sarcasm. And then you start all over again with Caleb Williams. So it's just a strange time for the Cardinals. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins wants to be there. We're going to hear from him momentarily. I don't think he wants to be there, and I think that's a factor in this as well because you don't want to pay all that money to somebody who doesn't want to be there as they try to turn this around, who's not going to be fully committed, who's not going to be present, who's not going to be engaged, who just doesn't want to be there.
Well, and like you said, he knows it's a throwaway year too. He's looking at it like you are. He's going, damn, we're not really trying to win something here this year, and it's year 10 for me, and I want to go play. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to add that on.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Here he is talking about what he's looking for in a team, specifically not a team that's having a throwaway year.
What I want is stable management upstairs. I think that's something that I haven't really had, past couple years in my career coming from Houston to being in Arizona. So I've been through 3 to 4 GMs in my career. So a stable management, a QB who loves the game, a QB who, brings everybody on board with him and pushes not just himself, but, people around him. I don't need a great QB. I've done it with subpar QBs, just a QB who loves the game like I do. And a great defense. I think defense wins championships. I think Kyler is a quarterback who loves the game as well, but he's injured. So right now for me, I'm playing with Colt McCoy, who I love, but who knows? So right now, I don't currently have a Pro Bowl quarterback or a quarterback who, I would say could
Look at you. He's trying.
He talked himself in the corner there. He didn't know how to get out of it. He didn't want to say anything too bad about anybody.
That was almost Quentin Williams stopping himself mid-sentence when talking about Kyler Murray years ago. Maybe it has something to do with Kyler Murray. That's the common thread there. When all of a sudden you just stop talking. So, but choosing his words very carefully. Look, he doesn't want to be with the Cardinals. So to get back to the point that you were discussing earlier, from the Cardinals' perspective, from a football standpoint, if you're truly trying to win football games this year, it makes sense. But if he doesn't want to be there, it makes it make less sense because it becomes a distraction to what you're trying to build. They're trying to build something there, assuming that Gannon makes it longer than a year, assuming that Ossenfort makes it longer than a year. And with the Cardinals, I would make no assumptions about anything. It will not surprise me if Gannon is one and done. Ossenfort, maybe he gets to hang around. It won't surprise me if Gannon is one and done with the Cardinals. And so he can't have somebody who doesn't want to be there. You just can't have it. You try to turn him around. And maybe they thought they were, but this interview with Brandon Marshall's group, that tells me this guy wants out. He just wants out, but he also wants his $19 million plus.
Yeah, no, I know it's a delicate situation there, and yeah, I feel for him. He's stuck in it's a tough spot. It is, yeah. At this point of his career, he's going, wait, my quarterback's hurt. The team's in a total rebuild, refurbish, whatever kind of mode here, right? Budda Baker doesn't even want to be here. I don't know what the defense is going to look like. He's got all those things that as an ex-player, I understand not wanting to be there. But I think the other side of it is Arizona, and like you said, what's more important to them, the cash or the assets? That's really, I think, what it comes down to. And that's what they got to figure out. Which one do they want? Like if they want the cash or whatever else, hey, then your June 1st thing and just cut them or whatever else, boom, there, okay, fine, you're going to get your cash back. But if you really want to try to build something here, I'm one of let's go towards the assets. You traded away a lot of assets and pleased this player to get him. He did not want to be in this other situation. And not only did you do that, you did that and paid him, a good amount of money. A ton of money. Gave him a new contract on that too. So that's where if I was running the team, even though this wasn't me before, I'd still go, I think I'd rather have the assets than the cash. Is that okay with you, Mr. Bidwell? And I'd let it play out and just see where it goes. And like I talked about, see if you get to the early part of the season, training camp, wherever, where somebody's desperate, a Super Bowl playoff caliber team that's got injuries at the wide receiver position, and now they're ready to make a move, and now you get more things to play with in next year's draft, which they already have a ton because of what Ossenfort did in this past draft.
That's a heck of a risk, though, you're taking on
I know.
if you're the Cardinals, that it's just not going to work out. And along the way, he could get injured.
That's true, too.
He could get injured, and then the $19.45 million, it's gone. It's paid, and you get nothing, and then you deal with his contract next year.
Yeah.
So June 1 is a key date for a trade. You can split the cap charge in half. So maybe at this point they're close enough. I don't know. But if nobody's going to take on that money, it doesn't matter from the team's perspective when it comes to minimizing cap hit. It just is irrelevant because I think they're ready to move on. They've been ready to move on. They just haven't gotten the offer, in part because the teams out there that would be interested don't want to pay him. And this is where it's probably difficult for DeAndre Hopkins to come to terms with it. I would assume he entered the process thinking, I'm going to go somewhere else and they're going to pay me more. I'm going to get a new contract. I'm going to get Devontae Adams money. I'm going to reset the market again. And now he's finding out, no, I'm not even going to be able to hang on to what I'm already due to make. So he's got to process that while still with a team he maybe doesn't want to be with, that for now has him on the books for that money, but may ultimately tear up the contract. It's a weird time for him.
It is.
And I think he's got to come to terms with some things before he can make a good decision about what he really wants and where he wants it all to happen.
Yeah, like you just talked about with Arizona and the risk and all that. I mean, he's got the risk of that right there for sure. He's got $19 million in hand if he just, acts appropriately and is the team guy. I mean, from all due accounts here. But, yeah, I don't know if he's going to – even if he got released June 1st, I don't think he's going to go anywhere and somebody's going to give him $19 million. I don't. I think it'll be one of those things where, he might get close to that. He might get – he's going to get I guess if he gets free, gosh, I would think he'd have a hard time going, wait, I want more than Odell Beckham Jr., who hasn't played in, basically 2 years, right? That's where he's going to stand on that ground, but I don't know if that money will be available then either. So it's going to be an interesting situation here to watch unfold over the next month and into training camp.
The longer it takes, too, the harder it is to get the money that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
less money there. The money gets spent. The rosters get set, and the big money may not be there. So I have a feeling he's not going to be a Cardinal. I just don't know where he's going to land, and these are things that all need to be worked out. June 1, a key date from the Cardinals' perspective, but for the teams that may or may not be interested, that doesn't matter. What matters is how much money they are inheriting on their salary cap, how much cash they have to pay, and that apparently has been the impediment. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.